Since I've already passed the half an hour mark, I'm going to have to split this video into two, so what you're watching now should be part two of this review. Part one's really about the externals, quality, how it's made, and this, which is going to be a little bit shorter, is really about function, how it's designed, how it works. This assembly is nice and simple. Remove magazine. You don't have to cock the hammer, which is makes it a bit smoother. Get it back so those notches align, and then you simply push through from the other side of the slide lock, come straight out, and then you can slide it off. Again, no touching the trigger, no touching the hammer, just come straight off. Internals seem fairly well designed, quite chunky. It's got this big chunky sort of disconnector and sear, very big chunky trigger bar. Yeah, seems like a good robust design, and getting inside it shows you that the plastic's pretty good quality as well. Certainly at the front here it's very thick, there's absolutely no movement at all. Grip's quite thin, you've got a little bit of flex, but certainly once the magazine's in there, it's a very solid package. And I didn't make note of it earlier, but it's got a good weight as well. It weighs 915 grams, which is quite heavy for quite a slender pistol. It's heavier than the real one unloaded. And it's heavier than my other reference kind of pistol. This is heavy for its size, and this weighs just over 800 grams, so you get almost 100 grams more with the P09, so excellent weight out of the box. Even though the real one, fully loaded with its 19 plus 1 capacity, would take you near a 1.1 kilogram. So yeah, you'll find with a lot of guns, they really can't match the weight of a real one unless you have actual steel, and it's full of bullets. Anyway, frame is quite well designed. If we take a look at the slide now, you might have noticed a couple of things in here which aren't standard, which leads me to some of the issues I've had with this gun. First thing, which isn't really an issue, but it's something that you might want to address, is the fact that, can't really get it out now because it's so strong, the fact that the recoil spring is weak. Out of the box, it's just about serviceable, but it's not particularly snappy. It feels a bit underpowered and sluggish. So here's the stock recoil spring. I managed to find another recoil spring which is virtually the same size, and I wondered what would happen if I combine them. I really didn't expect it to work. I thought it would create far too much pressure, but actually both of these springs together create a much snappier, satisfying sort of slide movement. So yeah, you might want to, it seems about the size of a 1911 spring or something like that, so you might be able to find a similar spring that'll fit an upgrade spring. So anyway, that's one thing that I had to change. The other thing, which is quite a big problem with this gun, I believe, is the hop-up. Right, so if we get the barrel out, I'll get to the hop-up in just a second. Give you a look at the slide here. You can see these sort of internal slide rails, so it runs inside the frame. It's a little bit different. Interestingly, there's a little bit of exposed metal there that has actually been machined. So even though the slide has been cast, they've obviously had to make an amendment to the design, and they've machined a little notch in there. Standard kind of springy blowback, not red like a lot of KJ Works, but I prefer that. I'm much happier with a black one. Note that this gun is rated for CO2. CO2 magazines are available for it if that's your thing. And overall, the slide's relatively weighty, a couple of 100 grams, and seems well designed. It's a solid piece of metal. So, to the barrel. As you can see, it's starting to wear down a little bit. Finish is alright, but it's obviously not that tough. Right, first annoyance with this design is that to get the inner barrel and hop-up unit out, you have to actually punch out a pin, which is very tight in there. So every time you want to get this out for maintenance or cleaning, you have to punch out that pin all the way and get pliers on it and pull it out. It's just not as easy as something like a TM that'll just slide out or bend out. Overall, it's pretty simple design. Alright, so the real problem with this gun comes with the actual way the hop-up works. As you might be able to see, the screw on here is not the one that comes with the gun. The one that comes with the gun looks like this, And I've drawn a little diagram here to show you exactly what happens. So looking down from here, that's what is inside. This is a metal ring that, rather than the usual TM design, which is a little kind of hook that pulls down to give more hop up, this is actually a ring which lies around the barrel. The way that this is adjusted is by this little screw that came installed. Simply comes in the bottom like that, and as you screw it, it pulls the hop ring down towards the barrel, putting more hop on it. The problem is that this little screw is steel, this ring is a very cheap pot metal, and the screw only goes in about that far. So when my gun wasn't lifting anywhere near as much as it should have with even a 0.2, the hop up just wasn't doing anything, and I kept screwing this up and up and up, rather than it increasing the pressure on the hop, what was actually happening was the threading, which is all cheap metal that the threading is in, just started to crumble. So straight away, 2 days after I bought this, the stock hop up system was absolutely useless. It had stripped the metal away, the screw was just sort of loose in there. Bad design. This needs to be steel, or at least something that can cope with a screw going into it. So I was not happy with that. That's the only thing I can say about this gun, really, that genuinely annoyed me and I was disappointed with, is that they've obviously not tested it well enough, or at least they'd assumed no one would over tighten it, and that's an issue. So if you get this and the hop up isn't working very well, it's much better to mess around with your hop unit, or maybe pad the top of this ring to put more pressure on, than just screw it. Be very careful that you don't over screw the hop unit, because it will break. So what I had to do was find a longer screw, which is so long that it actually protrudes through the broken threading and does actually dig into something. I had to add a little spacer there. So it does work now. That's the bottom line. If you can get a longer screw, which has to be just the right length, if it's too long it won't go in the gun anymore, and if it's too short it won't grip. It's working for now, and it is lifting 0.25 just about right. But considering this was, like, if you look at the R8X videos on this gun, and they made out that this was a good hop-up design and more stable and all that, I'm just not a fan of it. It's far too easy to break, and actually this hole isn't big enough, I don't think, for enough adjustment. It kind of gets jammed on the barrel, so I'm not happy with that hop-up design. It's a shame they didn't just go with a standard TM unit. Anyway, that over. Fixed it myself. It is now working. So just be aware of that. You could run into issues. Anyway, let's put my super tough recoil spring back. And can put the gun together. So with my very tough recoil spring, the action is a lot more crisp out of the box. Again, it is a little bit loose and sluggish, so I'd definitely recommend trying to find a recoil spring that does fit this. So you can see, it's nice and satisfying now. Yeah, so that's all good. Yeah, trigger's pretty good. Quite a lot of take up. Single action. There isn't any sort of stop just before it goes. It just kind of trips the sear as you're pulling it. I prefer one that actually stops and you can feel just where it's about to pull. Just where it's about to release, sorry. But, oh well. Trigger's alright. Better than their CZ75 apparently, which had a pretty terrible trigger. And it does work as a true double action. It will fire. You can just put the magazine in, fire the gun, and it'll go. Okay, so what other issues have I had other than that hop up? One other issue, which seems to have actually resolved itself now, came from a good proportion of the shots in the magazine being weak. I had this with a TM1911 a while ago, never figured out why it was, but it is very annoying. And even though I'm using a very powerful gas, Garda gas, I would find that maybe from a magazine of 25 shots, at least 10 of them are totally underpowered and barely move the slide. They'll just go not enough to lock back. It just sort of half blowback. And that was before I've upgraded the recoil spring, so it wasn't down to that. And I really couldn't figure out why some of the shots were coming out so weak. I mean, sometimes it would literally go for a whole magazine with barely one powerful shot. It would just be sluggish, and it was really starting to annoy me. And I tried a number of things to fix it. The first thing I noticed is that the design of the valve knocker seems to actually hit the back of the magazine where it shouldn't. So rather than just hitting the valve, it seems to actually hit the magazine. If you might not be able to see, there's the knocker. Probably won't be able to see actually, but what I found is where you can see that silver mark by the side of the valve, that was actually the knocker smacking the side of the mag instead of the valve. So even though I couldn't figure out how to disassemble this gun, what I did, I just took a file and started slightly reducing the size of, see that little ledge? So there's the flat surface here, which touches the valve, and then just towards me there's that little ledge right on top of where my finger is. There's that tiny little ledge which was smacking the magazine. So I just stuck a needle file in, very slowly reduced it. I'm not sure if that alone helped or not, but what I also did is I just felt that this trigger, that this mainspring was just too violent. It's so tough. It was painful. It was sort of, it felt like it was tearing itself apart firing it. So I actually took a few coils off, and I think the slightly reduced power in that has actually helped a bit. I think it was just hitting it too hard, and it was creating inconsistency with how hard it was smacking everything. So overall, that problem has reduced. I think if you give that a little file, that little ledge in there, slightly reduce the hammer spring. Now note that all these slight issues I've been having are with the gas magazine. You can also get CO2 magazines, which I haven't tested. I don't know if that is going to have the same sort of low rubbish blowback issue. Also note that the two issues I've mentioned, the poor blowback occasionally and the hop up, I haven't seen other people complain of so much. I mean, obviously this hasn't, they haven't sold thousands of these and there aren't loads of reviews out there. But from what I've seen so far, that hasn't been a huge issue. So maybe I've just been unlucky, got a bad gun or something. But yeah, it's definitely been striking the back of the mag pretty hard. And it does seem to be all right now. Another thing that might have contributed to the problems is inside the blowback unit, inside the nozzle, which is a bit that moves back and forth, as you can see in there. There is a little, it's called a rocket valve. And it's a fin valve which, as it moves, it regulates the pressure between shooting down the barrel and shooting gas backwards for the blowback. So as it operates, as you first shoot the gun, the gas is directed out the barrel, and then after enough gas has been directed there, it closes the rocket valve and will shoot backwards to blow the slide back. What I found is that a little O-ring on the rocket valve, which no other gun I've seen actually has, like a TM, it just has a plain plastic valve. This has actually got a little O-ring on the valve, and when I took this gun apart, that O-ring was broken. So what I'm thinking might have happened to contribute towards that poor blowback is that little O-ring has actually got jammed in there and wasn't directing enough gas to the blowback. So I replaced the O-ring on there. It seems to be quite a standard size. And again, just doing a little bit of general maintenance, clipping the spring, filing that a little bit, replacing the O-ring, or at least oiling it if yours hasn't broken. And you can get it to the stage where you're not getting these weak shots, and as long as your hop's holding out, it is fine. I know this has come across quite negative. I'm just trying to get across that as excellent as the externals are, you may need to do a little bit of fiddling to get it just right. It's not a disaster. Still, for £100, I'm very happy with it. So, as far as performance is concerned, FPS is very good for a stock pistol. Unfortunately, I still don't have a chronograph. I'm sorry about that. They're expensive, and other than for reviews, I wouldn't really use it a whole lot because power doesn't bother me. But judging by all the reviews I've seen, or at least the write-ups that some Asian people have done, these seems to be coming in over 300 FPS. So I think with guarded gas, good weather, you could be looking at 330, and it definitely seems like that when I'm shooting it. Definitely the BBs travel a lot faster than a TM pistol. Hop up, now that it's fixed, it is decent enough. It is not incredible. In terms of performance overall, I would still always take a TM, but certainly for £100, it'll shoot just as well as a WE. And it's nothing that can't be tweaked. I believe that Falcon or someone do make an upgraded hop rubber / barrel for these. Even though they are a unique design, you cannot fit TM parts in this, which is a shame. But yeah, I'd say it's acceptable. It's not exceptional, it is acceptable. And the same goes for the Blowback, really. Some guns, when I shoot them, absolutely blow me away. The PX4, every time I pick it up and shoot it, I'm amazed by how snappy it is. I mean, it is so addictive shooting this. I can't get over it. I absolutely love this gun. And I don't get the same feeling with this. It's just not quite the same, really. I guess it's down to the metal slide being a bit slower. There's also a lot of friction because of those internal slide rails. It's just not so amazing. I guess it's about normal. Like the performance, it's adequate, it's average, it's about the same as a WE pistol. Actually, most WE pistols kick a bit more, to be honest, but there's only so much you can do with this very thin slide. But there we go, show you the Blowback. Hopefully the lighting's alright. I think I'm being a bit harsh on it, actually. It's definitely got decent kick. It's not as good as a newer TM with a plastic slide, but it is satisfying now that I've sorted that issue out. Trigger pull's alright. See what the reset's like. Reset's very short, actually. Oh, now that hasn't happened before. That's interesting. I'm glad I got that on camera. I've never had that happen with this before, but it actually just tripped over and did 2 shots. Full auto. Maybe it's because I was pulling the trigger very gently. Let's try that again. Interesting. Well, you've seen that firsthand. Looks like you can manage to get it to go full auto. I think what that was is that, like I said, it's got a very short reset, and I think as I pulled the trigger very gently, it fired, and as it returned to battery, I managed to sort of hold it just on the reset, and it fired. So I don't think that's a regular problem. I've been shooting this a lot, and I haven't had that before. But yeah, overall, pretty good slide movement. You don't normally get that gas spray, it's simply because I'm holding the gun down a bit. And as you can see, gas capacity is adequate. Still getting a decent amount of shots out. I mean, I've got to fire at least 25 there. And it's still locking back. So gas efficiency seems definitely adequate for a metal pistol. Let's fill the mag up again. So you can tell it's a silent fill valve and it is slightly leaking. Let's have a look inside. And we have a leak. This is an interesting video. That's both a full auto issue and now we've got a bit of leaking. To be perfectly honest, I haven't put a lot of silicone in this. I've pretty much left it dry since I got it, so that's probably the issue there. And it stopped. So it's just a very... Oh, no, and it's back. Yeah, that's definitely a leak. I think you can hear that. Very slow leak, so make sure you maintain these. I'm going to have to go put some silicone in. So yeah, I find myself saying this a lot in reviews, but it's a real mixed bag. Not quite as extreme as in my Mauser review I just finished. But excellent externals, really good for the price. Really excellent finishing, very well built. In regards to sort of a model, let's just say it was a model gun, I'd be really impressed. The only thing that really lets it down is that poor design hop up, which might not be an issue for you if you adjust it carefully. And the only other thing was those weak shots, but other people don't seem to be having that so much. And I think it is curable, as I just I just fired off about 30 shots then, and none of them felt that same weakness that I've had before. So I think that issue seems to have gone. And again, you've got to think that these are very new production guns. I probably bought one of the first ones sold in England. As soon as it was on Airsoft Armory, I bought it. And only 2 shops, I believe, in the UK sell these at the moment. So who knows, KJW might make a newer version. And you can hear that magazine leaking away in the background. Yeah, before I made this video, no leaking problems at all. I'm definitely going to need to take that apart and fill it with silicone. But yeah, maintain your magazines and that won't happen. I've kind of neglected that one a bit. Overall though, let's say you've got £100. What could you get with that? Gas blowback pistol. You could get a WE with no trademarks and a not so great finish. But this is unique. It's got trademarks, metal slide. Really excellent feeling pistol. Very well made. I'd put the quality a definite step above WE, sorry, I don't know, I call them WE then. And I'm impressed. Yeah, a couple of issues, nothing a bit of fiddling around isn't going to sort out. Overall, I am happy with this. And for £100, I'm tempted to buy another one. Hope you've enjoyed all of this. Sorry it's gone on a bit. I think that's probably 50-minute review so far, so it will be split into 2 parts. Never made anything that long. I've got more videos on the way. My Mauritian Winchester is ready to be videoed. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it. More videos on the way. Thank you.